came up from the bottom, it's a cold, cold world. Just cop it, I'm a roadie with some iced out pearls. Got me singing like I'm Melly, so hold on, baby girl.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Collective Podcast. You know, when you come here, bro, is lose your mind, find your soul. Sit back, relax. Got a lot to bring. We got a lot to talk about.
On this episode, we're kind of going to go into manifestation and other sorts of things with your mind. This is kind of a series of a podcast that we're going to kind of delve into episode by episode to help you go along on your journey and learn exactly what you need to learn in the proper steps to kind of build yourself up to it. Because if you learn everything all at once,
so it's hard to take in.
Yeah. It's very hard to take in.
Well said. So to further on that, so we're going to be talking about the law of assumption. We're going to be talking about manifestation today. I'm sure many of you have already heard, of the concept of manifestation. It's the concept of thinking things, envisioning things, until they, appear in your physical reality. It's known as manifestation. People have used the term law of attraction. There's many ways of thinking about it, of the process, but we're coming here to deliver something called law of assumption. It's very different than
our modern form of manifestation has been twisted and actually diluted to kind of misguide people in the way it's actually done. And there's a lot of pop culture that's taken, movies, videos, influencers, different people out there, and kind of skewed how it's done. Just like a lot of other things in our world they have partial truth and there's lies mixed into it to kind of misguide people. So we want to give the full grounded truth, and then go from here into places and things you probably would never have heard about if you haven't listened to this podcast. So
right. Well said.
So
So we're going to dive into the first law, right, when it comes to manifestation. When we're talking about the law of assumption, right, basically the goal of it is to assume that your manifestation, your goals, your dreams, whatever, is already present in your reality, in your experience, right? You are already embodying that and experiencing whatever you wish or you intend to, right? So the biggest misconception when people talk about the law of attraction is that you're supposed to tell yourself that it's happening. A lot of people get stuck in this loop. A lot of people keep themselves just this close to their manifestation, but they just don't get it, because your subconscious mind creates your entire reality. That's the truth, right? Our brain, we work on electromagnetic pathways, neural pathways. So, it's all about the present state. So if you tell yourself, right, that you are somewhere, and you genuinely believe that, you keep on telling and affirming yourself that you have something, or you are something, or you're perceived, in a specific way, then it will manifest. But the biggest misconception, like I said, was that telling yourself that it's coming or that you can do it. That's great. Speaking positive is always great, but when it comes to the law of assumption, you must act as if you already have.
Now let's start a little deeper before we even get there. So all of this has to do with energy, and not only that, but it's the language you're using. A lot of the language that you're using, you don't even realize what you're saying when you're saying it, because our language, the English language, was kind of just given to us. Most of the words that you have or that you use on a day-to-day basis, if you break them down, you're saying things you probably would never have wanted to say yourself. It's a lot of kind of subconscious programming you've been put into, not by your fault. We've been taught a certain way your whole life. So if you want to start on like where the energy of it comes from, like it's just starting from like why can somebody manifest something?
So basically, I'll say theory, for the fact of the matter when it comes to TikTok and whatnot, but we all know it's not a theory. The multiverse, right? It all goes down to people like Joe Dispenza, and shout out to Sammy Ingram, because she's very knowledgeable when it comes to this topic. The theory, right, of the multiverse, infinite possibilities, the quantum field, right? So basically stating that there is a reality for everything and anything.
As in that I could be sitting in his seat in another reality right now.
So that being said, right, there's another reality right now, right, where he's in my seat and I'm in his seat, right? There's another reality right now where I have on a white shirt, right? There's another reality right now where the color of the LEDs is a different color. You get my gist? So it's kind of, it can really be anything. And this can go very deep because this is more advanced. It's more an advanced level of, perceiving things. But in order to, fully understand and grasp this concept of law of assumption, you must understand that, it's not of the logic mind. When it comes to manifestation, you're going to sound delusional. That's the way you manifest things. You can't think logically and manifest and step out, manifest things out the box, So,
but if you want to start there with that, we could even say that thinking normally is thinking delusionally at the same time.
Right.
Because of the way
what is normal? What is
normal?
sane? You know what I mean?
Only the last
Because
100 years have we been programmed to kind of think this certain specific way.
Exactly.
This, it kind of...
Remember, no matter what, remember that you are the creator of your reality. You are in charge of your world, of your reality. You are the creator and you are the destroyer of your reality. Right? So you are responsible for everything that you experience, the positive and the negative. Right? So with that being said, when you completely understand that, it's a lot easier to really step in that way of, perceiving things, and you're able to really, master that ability to manifest things into your life. So for example, say you're somebody who intends. I don't use the word want, because when you use the word want, you put yourself in a state of lack. So if you're going to say anything, if you for the purpose of the context of the video, we're going to use intend, right? Because intention is key, right? Intention and purpose are key, right? So say you're somebody who intends to be a well-known basketball player, let's say, right? Instead of saying, oh, I know what's going to happen, I can't wait to be a basketball, I can't wait to be in the league, whatever, and you might be writing it down, you might be working towards it, that's great, always, never forget the execution, right? But you must understand that if you're not telling your subconscious that you already have it, your subconscious is not going to respond with that. Remember that your reality is a reflection. It's a reflection of your inner being, right? It's a reflection of the thoughts in your subconscious mind. So in order to actually project that, right, into your physical reality, to physically experience that, you must convince your subconscious that it is already there. You're basically tricking your subconscious. You're literally manipulating your own subconscious mind, right? So we've been taught that manipulation is a bad thing. It can be a bad thing when it's used for bad, but I believe, this is my perception, I believe that we were put here to learn how to master manipulating energy. People like Dole's Cannon, Joe Dispenza, big name people.
Rashad Jamal,
shout out Rashad Jamal, have talked about these same things, these same concepts, that we are put here to learn how to, manipulate energy. And manifestation, the concept of projecting things into your physical reality using your mind is a very, 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 strong way of doing so. So
if we were to take the average person now,
right,
and knowing nothing about manifestation,
right,
start them on a path where they can even, let's say not even learn, but get to implement little things where they'll learn along the way, what would be that first step for somebody?
So the first step would definitely be routine. I can definitely say from experience that even when I was listening to sleep tapes, the subliminals, with affirmations in them, even when I was saying affirmations to myself, so on and so forth, I noticed that when I didn't have a routine, it wouldn't work. Because what I've come to learn is that self-concept is the most important thing. The biggest misconception about manifestation is that you can literally sit in your bedroom and do absolutely nothing and think to yourself, I'm this, and it will become true. That's not how it works. That's not how manifestation works. There must be some sort of action that is taken to to match that frequency. It's all about projecting that frequency, right? So if you sit there and you tell yourself, yeah, I'm a famous actor, I'm a famous model, I'm a famous singer, whatever. You tell yourself that, that's great, you're doing one part of it. But guess what? You're not doing anything to act as if, you must think, what would that version of you do? What would that version, say, like I said, say you want to be, you intend to be a famous basketball player, right? What would that version of you be doing right now? How would that version of you be thinking, right? What would that version of you be spending your money on? What would you be spending your time doing? Things like that. So when I say routine, it's understand that routine is very, very, very important. Working on your self-concept. If you getting up, making sure you're taking care of yourself. You're eating healthy. You're really doing everything you can to live in that abundant state. Because if you're not, if your routine doesn't match the work, what you're telling yourself that you are, if your environment doesn't match that, it's going to be really, really, really difficult to achieve that, to really manifest that, because your subconscious is going to, continue to revert back to your old ways of living and thinking.
Correct.
So,
no, that's valid.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a lot you can take away from that, even as someone who is advanced with manifestation and wants to get into it. Because now what we can do is end up talking about the people who are on the journey of manifestation, but for some reason can't seem to get it to click. Like there's people that go through life and they're like, I understand how to manifest. I know this, I know that. I watched The Secret, basic kind of misconstrued conception of manifestation. They're like, I don't get why I've tried for 8 years now, doing everything I can, writing things down, positive affirmations, and for some reason you can't get it to click. Because everyone knows what that clicking is, and once you get it, it's like, oh, it makes sense. So like, how do you speak to somebody that, let's say, is on the journey but can't get it to work? Like there's probably
there's many perspectives, because it depends what that person is struggling with.
Right.
I will say, that everybody has their own subconscious beliefs that are blocking them. Right. For me, for example, we could use anybody, right? Some people may have the belief that, they're not good enough. Right. That's the most common one, that somebody believes that they aren't good enough.
Can we say it stems from their childhood trauma?
100%. And this is where, now I understand when it comes to speaking about how, in order to manifest your intended reality, you must, heal all your childhood trauma. I understand where that stigma came from in the New Age movement. I do understand where it came from, though it really, you actually don't have to. Now, the biggest reason, that typically after people heal their childhood trauma, they become capable, to manifest very, very, very abundant things into their life, is because that mental block from the past is no longer holding them back. Though I will say, if you're somebody who's able to put that to the side and you're able to really take control of your mind, you don't have to heal your childhood trauma in order to manifest things. I recommend you do. I always tell people, I always recommend people, doing shadow work and really reflecting on who they are and what they've been through and really getting rid of that dirt, that gunk, you know what I mean? But, at the end of the day, it's all about your subconscious beliefs. You may have something, it could be the littlest thing. It could be that
it's the people you're putting yourself around. They might be people's manifestations can affect you in other ways too. If their energy gets imposed on you, not entirely.
Not entirely. I mean, I do believe that you are the only one who can control your manifestations. Now, when we talk about people affecting your energy field, like black magic and all sorts of things like that, that is very real, even when it's unintentional. Even when it's not intentional. We talk about things like evil eye and things like that. Those are very real. Understand, family, that like evil eye is real. When somebody sees you and they're jealous of you and they don't like that you're winning, right? You will, if you receive that energy and you let it impact your field, if you let the thoughts of others and the opinions of others, directly impact your wavelength, your frequency, your way of thinking, your opinions, your perspective, everything on life, you're gonna have a very, very hard time really taking control, of everything going on around you. It's gonna be a rough journey. So definitely, thanks to my brother, putting that out there, definitely something to really learn how to master before anything is, learning, protecting your peace, protecting your energy, really blocking out other people's thoughts and opinions, because it's not going to help you along the way.
Exactly.
Only you are going to serve you. Only you, can say, where you are meant to go in life, and only you can truly, find your purpose for yourself. Nobody can find your purpose.
And to add to that, only you can work through your own trauma. No one can do that for you.
Nobody can.
No one can pull that out of you.
Nobody
Someone
can.
can maybe assist with helping you ask the right questions to yourself, but in terms of actually letting that energy go, there's a level of I want to say not passiveness, but like open-mindedness that you have to be able to have and let that energy flow. You have to come to terms with it. You have to face it. You have to feel the emotions you've been suppressing. Even if they're from years ago, you're like, okay, I want to get over it and just get them out. They have to go through you in order to actually get them out of the way, because that's the energetic block. You might be doing everything you can. There's still that little brick wall, and exactly what you want to have happen should be happening, but it's not, because that one thing is in the way. And we can have a whole episode on childhood trauma, which we will do. And we'll get into definitely how to actually go through that process, how we did it, because there's multitudes of it, and it really can cause a lot of other things other than not getting what you want in life. So I think that's very important to really focus on. Now I also want to get into, as we're going along the journey of, okay, we met with the people that haven't started manifestation, want to learn about it, get into it. Then we got into people who are in it but haven't really figured it out yet, how to get through that. Right. Now the people that are there, they work through their trauma, they're at baseline, where, okay, I started, I can actually make this happen, and they start to employ little tricks, employ little kind of tactics that actually start to move them forward. They see momentum. How do they keep that momentum? How do they not screw that up? And also, how can, I want to say it the right way, to get the question out exactly how I know you guys are thinking of it. How can they make it so like everything that they touch turns to gold, where it's like everything they touch turns to gold. It's acceleration where it doesn't stop, because everyone's fearing, okay, I'm gonna get there, and they have a fear of success, and then the momentum stops, and then they like question themselves, and it completely stops, and then it falls apart, and they're like, what did I do? So we want to make sure that keeps going. So this, whenever I'm asked these types of questions, I always go back, to reminding people that they are the creator, not just the creator, but they're also the destroyer of their reality. Right. So, nobody can destroy your reality for you. Remember that nobody outside of you can control your life. Nobody. People can influence you. Yes. People can recommend you things. People can affect you if you let them affect you. But remember that nobody is creating or destroying your reality except for you. Everybody. There's no limitations. There's no limitations to what you can manifest. When I say no limitations, I truly mean that you can say, I don't know, it could be anything. Say it's a text message from a celebrity. You could manifest that. You could write down and tell yourself, I'm so happy that I received this message from this person. And you could wake up the next morning with that text message from that celebrity, or that person that you wanted to receive that text message from. Anything. And that could, bigger than that, smaller than that, there's no limits. Like I say, remember that there are infinite possibilities, and you are able to become aware of yourself in any of those. Literally. There are no limitations.
And it's the understand and feeling of that reality that lets that become true. Because people are like, they have to see to believe. It's the opposite. You gotta feel it.
Opposite.
To put it into reality for them to see it, and then it's like,
not even put it into reality. Picture it more as there are infinite versions of yourself, and we could put it a few different ways. One way I've thought about it is picture that there's just one of you, right? And each version of yourself resides at a different number, right? Okay. Yeah. And depending on which version of yourself you would like to experience, you have to basically shift into that number. So let's say being a famous basketball player is number 2,273. Yeah. Let's just say that, right? You have to make sure that everything you're doing, right, and everything you're thinking and everything you're saying to yourself is matching that version of yourself, that 202. So, yeah, like I feel like that's one of the best ways to explain it. Is like there are literally infinite versions of yourself, right? And it's literally all about matching that version, that frequency, right? Remember that everything is energy, everything is frequency, literally everything.
But it all can start with visualization. If someone's having trouble.
Oh yeah, 100%. I recommend writing your manifestations down for sure. That's the most effective way. That's worked for me. Something that might work for you as well is drawing pictures of your manifestations. Just scripting them out. Drawing them.
Reciting them in the right way.
Reciting them. For example,
if I intend to manifest a phone call with somebody, right? Something I might do is I might write down a phone call conversation, and I might recite it to myself. So me says, or receives a phone call, I might say, oh, so and so is calling me, and I might act as if I'm picking up that phone call and I'm on the phone with that person. You know what I mean? I'm having a conversation on the phone with that person, and I will literally recite it to myself like, yo, I'm on, like, whatever the conversation may be. It could be anything, and I'll recite it to myself, and I'll recite it to myself, and I'll act like the phone call just keeps happening, and it keeps happening, and eventually I'll wake up the next day, or I'll wake up a couple days later, and I'll get that phone call, and it'll go, if not exactly, just around how I envisioned it. So yeah, like I said, it's something that there's a lot to understand and there's a lot to learn. But
We've done it for bigger things. A lot of things that people want to manifest are materialistic, but that has to come along with something else that's based in like energetics. So it's, for example,
there has
he
to
was
be.
put on a billboard
Right.
in Times Square. How did you do that?
I manifested it.
You manifested it. Where were
said
you when
the-
you manifested it?
So I was actually in Arizona. I was in Sedona, Arizona. I was on the top of a mountain, and I was in deep meditation. I was sitting on the mountain, and I kept thinking to myself, I'm happy and grateful that, you know, my brand, you know, I go by, for those of you who know me, you know, by my artist name, I go by Jtti, John Troia Teaches Intelligence, right? I was envisioning my brand, Jtti, becoming very well known, very famous. I was picturing my songs, you know, being broadcasted. I was envisioning it all happening, and in the middle of that deep meditation in Arizona, I received a text message from somebody I had never met before, and he actually, we were actually talking, and he was telling me how he likes my music, and he's a manager, and he offered to put me on a big billboard in Times Square for free. And at that point of me really working hard, I hadn't really, you know, made it too far. I hadn't seen too much results. I hadn't seen too many results out of my music at the time. So it was when things first started to take off for me, and it was when I first started to realize that, you know, manifestation is a very real thing, and it's very powerful, because it was the second I let go from it, you know, and that's where we're going to get into the second law, and it's the law of detachment. When we talk about manifestation,
It's like launching a rocket.
Yeah.
You don't launch a rocket and have chains tied.
yeah, you don't.
You have to
You gotta-
set off
you
the
gotta-
rocket.
You gotta let it go.
Let it go.
Right.
Watch it do its
Right.
thing. It's
So,
Yeah.
and this is where some people get confused, right? When it comes to, you know, people may ask, well, if you say, you know, you must remain detached, then how are you supposed to work towards it? Well, that's a very good question. I'm happy you asked, right? So this is where balance comes in, right? This is where keeping an equal balance, right, in life comes in, right? So, of course, you must execute. Remember that where attention goes, energy flows, right? Where you put your thought, where you put your focus, it will grow. It's science. It's quantum physics. Whatever you focus on, it will grow energetically. So you must put in the necessary action. You must take necessary action to, for whatever it may be, right? But if it gets to the point where you're worried about it, where you're like, this might not happen, or it gets to the point where you're worrying about how it may happen, you can't do that. You cannot be attached to it to where you're worrying about it and you're stressing over it. When you stress over it, you push it away from you. You deflect it. You push it further and further away from you. Understand that. There's nothing wrong with focusing on it and being, and focusing on the positive of the situation, right? This is something that's been misconstrued. Also with New Age spirituality is that you can't focus on it at all, and that's how it comes to you. That's not true. That's a lie. What you want to do is you want to focus on the positive of it. Affirm to yourself, I'm extremely happy and grateful that this happened in my life. Like, my life has changed dramatically. Like, man, I'm in it. Like, I'm feeling good. My life, like,
you could take
No.
it from the concept of praying, but almost on a more real level than like asking for something. You're reaffirming to yourself that that's what's happening, and energy will soon catch up. And it's like the law of karma. Like, it's mandatory for it to happen.
Yeah, it's mandatory.
It's like there's no question.
There's no question if it's gonna happen. Remember that your reality, your experience, is a literal projection of your subconscious mind. So as long as you're able to backdoor your subconscious and convince your subconscious mind that something is true, it will manifest. And remember something. Your subconscious does not remember events. It doesn't. Your ego is what remembers events. So, say for example, say I'm going to affirm that I'm a famous basketball player, right? So I would say to my subconscious, hey, remember I got signed to that major basketball team? That was amazing, right? Now, my ego would respond back saying, no, you didn't. Since when? Right? Now, my subconscious would respond back saying, yeah, bro, that was fucking awesome, right? So the difference is that your subconscious doesn't remember shit. Your subconscious is, you can manipulate your subconscious all day. Your subconscious doesn't know the sky from the ground. It doesn't. Your ego is what holds on to negativity. Your ego is what holds on to, to perceptions of things, is what keeps you stuck in the old way of thinking, the old way of acting, so on and so forth. So like I said before, it's really about backdooring your subconscious and bypassing that ego. Like I said, that's why sleep tapes are very, very essential. They're very important. Now they're not mandatory; you don't have to, but I really do recommend them. There's some people who say that they've listened to subliminals and their life changed overnight. And I know some people who say they've listened to subliminals and it never worked for them, right? So everyone's different, and different things work for people, for different people. But what I will say for sure is that affirming is key. You must use affirmations and affirm to yourself whatever it is that you intend to, manifest.
Right.
Literally whatever it may be. So.
And I just want to add into that as well, the main goal is to use your manifestations for good, because you can manifest,
of course,
negative things into your life.
Right.
You can manifest positive things into your life. It's all about how you want your experience in this life to be. So you can, like we used the example before, it's like setting off a rocket but having chains tied to it. It's like you can't. You have to let it go. So just know that anything that you're setting out there, regardless if it's not negative or positive, will in some way come to be one day. So it's just it's all about
so my brother is speaking facts right now. Other words, a lot of people will talk about how our words are spells. So we cast curses on each other without even knowing it. When you speak badly upon somebody, when you speak badly upon yourself, you're casting a curse upon yourself. You're hexing yourself. Words are magic. Words are frequency, magnetic. The word magic comes from magnetic. We live in an electromagnetic realm. So understand, family, that your words are very, very powerful, and they do impact people, not just because they sound a certain way, but because they all hold their own energetic, unique frequency. And that's what it is. So
I guess, that's kind of the wrap-up basics of manifestation. Obviously, there are more in-depth how-tos. We're going to get into a lot more topics as we go. I have a lot of previous episodes before we transition to two-person where I went into depth on certain things, but as more information has come out to us, as we've gained more knowledge, as we've gone through life and done more things, we can give you more direct how-tos and kind of speak directly to you, because I know what it's like to be at a stage where you're just coming into this and you have an infinite amount of questions and an infinite amount of sources to get the information from, and you want to get the right stuff, synthesize it, put it together, and put it to use for yourself. So that's really what our goal is for this podcast. That's what we're going to do going forward. We're going to lay out a lot of steps. This was getting over kind of like the laws of manifestation, which I hope and all you guys can go back if you need to, write it down, read it out to yourself if you need to. It really helps to kind of take notes of this kind of stuff, but if you're not the note taker, I'm the same kind of way, so I completely understand that. But
of course.
I think with that being said, I think we're gonna close this episode out. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, watching, listening, wherever you are. We're on every platform: Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Stitcher, Castbox, iHeartRadio, YouTube, any of the platforms, whether you want audio, video. That's kind of why we started the audio part or the video part of the series. We're also on Instagram. He is at Jtti Official. He's a music artist. He has some crazy music, awesome music. His hit Cold World is actually playing the intro outro of this, and it's kind of, he's doing pretty well. It's gonna really inspire a lot of people, bring a lot of things to light. We have that out through our record label collective as we started together, and that's going to impact, our goal is to impact 100 million people worldwide in some positive way or another.
Of course.
That you can find that at Collective Records on Instagram, or at Collective REC. And you could also find me on Instagram at Jack Troia. I'm the producer. I kind of manage all the things, put it all together. So yeah, with that being said, I just want to thank everybody for listening. If you found value in this, drop a like, follow, subscribe, wherever you listen to your content. If you could support us, that would absolutely mean a lot, so we know we're bringing value to you guys. But
Of course.
yeah, with
And that being said, remember that there are no limits.
there's no limits. And
you are the creator.
Our tagline, as we want to say, is lose your mind,
Find your soul.
So stay with us, tune in. We're going to have another episode out in 2 days from now, and that will be a banger. We're going to probably announce that on our Instagram, so tune into that, all right?
Tune in.
Came up from the bottom, it's a cold, cold world. Just cop a Maserati with some iced out bro. Got me singing like I'm Melly, so long, baby girl.